Bruce, greetings. Leave a message. Let me know who's there. We'll get going pretty quickly. Coming back. I'll just a couple of minutes. See if we break our record of, I think, was it 29 million? I'm sorry, 29. Well, Graham, nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming. Can you hear me okay? I'm just, I think I probably wouldn't hurt to guess that I got the mic right. But today's going to be a bit of fun. Us, Gaza. Hey, did you see your picture in the post about this session? Did you like that one, Gaza? Imran, good to see you, buddy. I hope Ramadan's going all right for you. That was a great pic. My daughter puts those up for me. She just runs a few pictures by me and says which one do I be, will you, Gaz? And then anyway, good on you. Fredrik Us from Sweden. Hey då. Hey Fredo. How's that? Gaza. Kenneth from Melbourne. Ni hao. Janet, nice to see you. Paul Kneep, all the way from Germany. And Alan. Thanks, you guys. Rob, Rochelle. They're all my Patreon family members. So I'm really, really happy and proud that you join me here every session. We're getting back going. You can see I've expanded the dojo a little bit. I pushed those mats out so I cover the whole floor, and we got enough room to fit a few people. We've started to come back to training. Mike, thanks for coming along, Mike Clark. I always mention it, but sometimes there's people who aren't here the first time I mention it. So it's always great to have Mike Clark along, who's the author of that wonderful book, Shingitai, and a number of other books which he sent me too. He's sent me a couple of really great books, which I'm going to read as soon as I get an opportunity. But this big translation job that I'm doing is killing me at the moment. Rob from Tassie, Alan's welcome to the party, Alan, and Luciano. I don't know if Luciano's here today, but a shout out to my new Patreon family. The Patreon family is really growing well. And here's something that we're doing. Daniel, he's a Patreon. Rod, Patreon. Good on you, buddies. I really appreciate it. And it's what is allowing me to do these sessions. And I put the word, consensus was stick to YouTube. So I think I will stick to YouTube. But what I will do is, for my Patreon family, I'm going to do Zoom sessions. So we'll be able to arrange a Zoom sessions where I'll be able to get feedback, and we'll be able to work together so we can work on a specific technique. We can do short 15 or 20-minute sessions where we focus on one technique. And this is one of the keys that I wanted to work on today too, is I've mentioned before, but we have 30 basics, stances, 22 kata. You extrapolate everything, you got 400 basic technique. Much, One's here. Janet's been to the dojo, Gaza. But on the wall of our dojo, we have a breakdown of training for the next 12 months. And we actually have a primary technique, principle, and kata that we work on for the next 6 months. Of course, there's stuff we work on every night, and then stuff we work on every quarter, and then every month. But everything around that, within that 6 months, focuses on that one primary technique, one primary principle, and one primary kata. So by the time the 6 months is up, you get the guys have a really, I'm not saying they master kata. Some guys do better than others, but what they do have is you can walk into the dojo and say to pretty well anyone in the dojo, show me half a dozen applications from that dojo, and they go, yeah, sure, shoot something at me, attack or a grab attack. So we work both of those things, okay? And Rudd, you see Rudd there, who lives in Hiroshima, and Rudd was the one that also mentioned that the idea of doing the Zoom sessions for the Patreon family. That's a great idea. Urs Clarence, all the way from Africa, appreciate it. Leo, good to see you, buddy. And Paddy, nice to see you. Thank you for coming along. You're a busy man. You have your own online thing. So I'm really honored that you come along. Daniel Langworthy, good on you. Just Random Thoughts. That's one of the students from our group, Imran. He's over in, he's down in South Australia. But anyway, he's got 3 minutes to go around, so good on you banging in there. Okay, so today I wanted to focus on, Raj, good on you, buddy, all the way from Nepal. I wanted to focus on kihon, okay? We're going to have a bit of a warm-up, bit of a stretch. I was going to wear my gi, but I actually have my gi right here. But I thought I'm going to take the gi off simply because when you do basics, the gi can hide things. It can hide bad posture. It can hide certain movements. It can hide a slightly elevated elbow. So by putting my T-shirt on, it exposes a little more. And I think we'll do another 10 cards out of the deck. So I've got the deck. I put the jokers on the bottom, and that way they'll stay right out of it. Hopefully they'll stay on the bottom. I'll give it a shuffle, see how my shuffling's going. Wasn't too bad, was it? Let's do another one. Well, it wasn't so good. Anyway, I'm going to peel 10 off the top. Not even going to look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might see before I do 7, 8, 9, 10. So look, we don't have time to do the whole deck, but at least if we do a few, that's a good start. So I'll leave them there. Okay. We like to train first, talk later, but we need to talk a little bit. So I hope you got a notepad, because when I decided to do basics today, it was like, once again, as always, you know, sometimes you see a little opening to a cave and you go inside the cave and it's the most expansive space. We went to, my wife and I went to Vietnam in February. We went into those caves in Da Nang and places like that. Are just breathtaking, you know. So this is what basics is like. We often think of basics as very fundamental, but the fact is everything in basics, you know. It's really, really important that we recognize that basics isn't just the 30 basic techniques. This is one of the things that kind of puts people a little bit off basics. You do those 30 basic techniques over and over and over and over, and sometimes it can be tedious. I've even had friends who have left Kyokushin because they didn't really think the basics were practical, or they didn't really think the moving basics or kata were practical. The fact that they had gone all the way through to black belt based on their basics and moving basics and kata and so on kind of slips their mind, and they start up their own little style without basics and without kata. And, you know, it's fun for a while, but eventually what happens is they hit a brick wall. Okay, so we need basics are really, really important. Normally I do the warm-up, do the session, but I want to talk about this before we do the session, and that way we can continue on relatively unbroken. Before I do go on though, thanks, Frederick. Hey. This coronavirus is generally something that happens to someone else. We all know that, and this is why so many idiots have caused little clusters here and there. But I had some bad news today. There's one of my friends who's a branch chief in Kyokushin in his country. He lost his sister, and she was only 49 years old. And he lost one of his black belt students who was also in his late 30s, early 40s, and both of them passed away because of the coronavirus. So, you know, even as we start to go back, and we have to go back to get the, but even as we go back, we do need to keep a little bit careful, okay? So practice your social distancing. We're back, we're starting to do some training outside now, and we have rules, only brothers and only siblings, or fathers and sons, or if not, one designated person until it goes back to level 3 open. But until then, everybody who trains is only allowed to train with the same one person, and that way we can try and limit it. And even then we maintain our social distancing within the dojo. Now, I just wanted to mention something else too. There's a great Scott Heaney's a guy in Canada, and he really tries hard with his blog. He has a blog called The Martial Way, and he's interviewed some great people. He's interviewed me, but Scott has just recently done an interview with Nick Pettis. Okay, it's a great interview. In fact, I'm just seeing if I've got the have I got the Nick Pettis. There we go. Nick P interview. Now, Nick Pettis was essentially Solsai's last uchideshi, and just a fantastic, amazing, honest, down-to-earth guy who's got a smile that lights up the world. And I watched that interview, and it brought back so many wonderful memories of my own experiences with Solsai. And I never want to have the audacity to compare myself to people like Nick, because you know, I was at Hombu 25 years earlier than Nick, but for a lesser length of time. So my experience with Solsai was different to Nick's. I was an uchideshi, but I was an uchideshi for 3 months, not 3 years. I was there during my university years, took a semester off and went over. I couldn't afford 3 months, and to be quite honest, I didn't really feel driven to do the whole 3 years. I could afford 3 months though. But my experience with Solsai was my personal relationship as his student and interpreter and translator over many years. But get along, have a look at that interview with Nick. You know, he's a great guy, down to earth. He still lives in Japan, and when he talks about some of his fights in tournaments where he just completely got ripped off, it's not just, you know, it's just not, he's not whining and moaning and complaining. It's a reality. In fact, I've refereed some of his fights, and I just look at these corner judges and just wonder what the heck's going on. Now, let's talk about basics. I've got some notes here that I've been making all since yesterday, actually. And it's very easy to minimize kihon, and like kata, we don't often understand the connection. My buddy Nick Hughes, the one that I've mentioned numerous times, who has the book called How to Be Your Own Bodyguard. I've put links to him previously. He's the one that got into a blue, won against 22 skinheads, all with weapons and so on. And I know it sounds too much to be true. It's like, yeah, give me a break. Even if we heard about Solsai taking on 22 guys, we'd start to wonder whether it's true. But what redeemed Nick was that there was CCTV and a police witness. The police weren't allowed to enter into the affray alone. This guy was alone, so all he could do was watch. I mean, that's always what we're talking about. He maimed 5 guys. In other words, he broke limbs or broke pelvises. He knocked out another 8, and the other 9 ran away. And when the police came to arrest the 13, they didn't know what to charge them with because they hadn't touched him. He didn't have a mark, a scratch, a torn T-shirt, or anything. And Nick, who is recognized widely by some of the top unarmed combat teachers around, he was the unarmed combat instructor for the French Foreign Legion at 21 years old. But Nick often said that probably 90% of his street fights were straight out of kata. When he's taking on multiple assailants or even a single assailant, he's doing things out of his kata. So whenever anyone says, well, kata, really, they're not realistic, they're just kind of a link to the past, well, go and have a word to Nick. He'd be happy to oblige a little bit of a lesson. But anyway, so, you know, really, we need recognize that basics is the foundation of everything. The word basics, it's the basis, it's the base. We form our base. We form a basis on the basics. Okay, so I said, of course, that flexibility is the basis of basics. So you've got to be as flexible as you can. And even if you're not so flexible that you're doing a Darren Stringer sort of thing, and there's another amazing, yeah, good to see you all the way from Norway. Thanks for coming. There's another fantastic link if you want to go along and see someone, Darren Stringer, who's one of the most experienced Kyokushin fighters. I just put a link there to him too. Thanks for coming, yeah. Now, we need to recognize that because basics forms a foundation, well, we have to ask, what is kihon? Kihon is just a word, right? It means basics. And we get into our Okay, well, kihon, to me, kihon is anything, any training or any drill that improves a fundamental key skill or foundation that supports your ongoing training. Okay, so for me, kihon is also footwork drills. Kihon is getting on the speedball and working the speedball. Kihon is shadow sparring, where you're looking for rhythm. Okay, now of course you do it once, it means nothing. You do it once every day for a year, and it really means something. So kihon is something that you have to do repetitively over time, because you're creating, I call them neurological hierarchies, neurological pathways. And what you're doing is you're getting all the body parts to be working together, and like being a single unit. Well, that means your whole body. So here's the thing about basics. When we do, for example, let's think agouchi. When you do agouchi, your brain thinks agouchi. But the fact of the matter is, your entire body has been trained. And if you make the mistake of relaxing your legs, for example, I've been sitting in Seiza for the last 20 minutes, so I'm a bit sore. But if you take your stance, nice and strong, tense in, and then as I'm doing my basics, I start to go slack with my legs. You know, my legs come up. They are straight, just my geese bent. That's why you wear a gi, so it makes it look like you're doing it correctly. Okay? If you make the mistake of forgetting that sight of the value of basics, okay, you can't, if you're doing basics correctly, you'll train the bottom of your feet. Okay, that's Oishi Hanshi. He's the head of the organization, but he told me that 15 years ago. He said that basics trains everything, including the bottom of your feet. Well, you think about that, there's a lot of sinew and so on the bottom of the feet that you need to be strong and be able to control. So in his opinion, a good basics punch will help your kicks as well. And if you doubt that, look at his kicks, you know, and I know that he still does his basics regularly. Okay, so the whole thing that we know, what's the very first thing that we do when we get into the dojo? And that is, okay, stand like that, close your fists. Okay, we stand in yoi. Okay, now if you minimize yoi, you minimize everything, because everything starts with the first step. And in Kyokushin, everything starts from this position. And you know that we go, Migi Sanshin Dachi, yoi. And you're in yoi. Your feet are strong. They've gone from Fudo Dachi into Heko Dachi. Your knees are bent. Your posture's. This is training the legs, you know. It's not just an arbitrary stance where you're there waiting for the next thing. Can we get over these basics, please? This is just a waste of time. Okay? It's not. It's training your entire body. And you'll know that to be so, because as soon as you stop doing basics regularly, and I've fallen into that trap, I have to admit, because sometimes I get right into different basics, and I sometimes will go for a while without doing all the basics, but not good. Okay, so you have to have a good yoi, and from a good yoi, everything else comes. Okay, you concentrate on the hara, you know, down here, the single point in the lower abdomen. The difference between that I can see between martial arts training and other physical activities is the hara, is the connection to the hara and the way the hara trains everything. If you move without a concept of the hara, you do that. You move with the concept of the hara, and everything is coordinated and planted, you know. So there's nothing arbitrary in basics. Solsai used to say, I'm not very good at Solsai impressions, but he used to go, あのね、自分のどこをどうやってどこ自分のどこで相手のどこを hitting to how you're hitting. That encapsulates everything you need to know about basics, because as soon as your brain goes away from what am I hitting with? I'm hitting with seiken. So I have to make sure, what am I hitting with? I'm hitting with knife hand. Am I hitting correctly? Is my knife hand formed correctly? Okay, what am I hitting with? I'm hitting with back fist. How do I do a back fist? You have to know how to do it. Which part of your hand is hitting? Okay, then where am I hitting? Am I just going arbitrarily out? No, there's nothing arbitrary in basics. My back fist goes right here. My back fist goes on the nose, on the temple. Okay, my back fist goes into the floating ribs, the spleen area or the liver. My back fist goes around behind into the temple, around like that. What you're hitting with, where you're hitting to, how you're hitting. That's the one thing that you should take. Every time you do basics, if you do that properly, I cross my heart, the whole nature of it will change. Okay, now there's another beautiful thing that I want you to think about, and that is there is no form of basics that is exclusive to beginners and not suitable for advanced martial artists. Okay, so when you break things down, and that's what we'll do today, you often break things down to help a beginner understand the technique and the flow and the hierarchy. But if you were to do that same training yourself regularly, you'd be surprised at how little you know, 2, how you drifted away from perfect, correct technique, and 3, how that training really. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of that today. By that I mean what we might normally do as a flow in one technique, in one count, we're going to break it down to 2 counts and 3 counts, and that forces you to know exactly where everything should be and when it should be there. In our dojo, one of the ways we do kata is we call it slow dialogue kata. Okay, and that might be this. So it means you're doing a kata, but you're doing it super slow motion, and you're talking to yourself. Yoid, my knees are slightly bent, my fists are tight, I have tension through my legs, my posture's good. As I step, I drop my weight down, I withdraw my hand, I look to the side, I have my weight on my support leg, I take my leg out, and then as it plants now, I'm going to twist, pull my hikite back, drive my other hand out for the drive from the hara. From there, and I've got to be careful with this one because I've got a bad knee. From there, I'm going to push off my back ankle. Step through slowly, keep it slow. I'm going to torque my body so I get the arc of tension as I step through. I step through to Zenkutsu. As I settle in Zenkutsu, I bring the hikite back, drive my hand out, still upside down, and then I twist the hand right at the end. Okay, this is what we call slow dialogue kata. You can do one kata and it'll take you 10 minutes. But what it'll do is it'll really make sure that you know exactly where everything should be. And if you don't know at any point during any movement where everything should be, then that's why you need basics, okay? Because the most advanced kata is nothing more than a collection of fundamental key basic techniques, but also basic concepts, okay? Because not all movements that you do kata are in basics. You know, the kata might come from here, squat down, boom, in this position. Well, you don't do that position in basics. But you might do that with the hand here, but we push it here in the kata. So the basics provide the platform for all kata, and that's why they're really, really important. Okay, and even like kickboxers, I trained a lot with some great wrestlers over the year. One of my wrestling coaches, a fellow named Rico Ciparelli, introduced to me by John Donahue from Melbourne. And Rico was, they called him the Zen man of wrestling, amazing guy. And he would say, you know, you do a fundamental technique 1,000,000 times. And if you pull it off once perfectly, you pull it off 100,000 times imperfectly, and it'll still work. Off once perfectly in a competition career, he said, you really achieve something. So this is the concept of basics. Okay, so let me see. I'm just going to. Okay, time to go. Let's warm up. I've got 10 cards. I'm going to have a peek. No, I shouldn't have a peek. But I did just shuffle them up. And, you know, if you've got time for 10, great. 13 gives you a quarter of the deck. 18 gives you a third of the deck. 27 gives you half of the deck. You know, depending on how much time that you have, you can decide how many cards you want to do. But do something every day. That's the whole important thing. All right, so I'm going to get going now, have a warm-up, and then I want to pay close attention to basics today. Okay? Oh, shout out. Look, yeah. Look, yeah, I've got my Lawrence. They've even put my own name on in case I forget my name. I can take the T-shirt off and check. Okay, so that's my shout out for the T-shirt of the day. Put my glasses there so I don't lose them. Cards here. Oops. And us. Knees itch, knee, san, shi, hanta itch, knee, san, shi, scoring itch, knee, san, shi, itch, knee, san, knee, san, shi, double shoulder width, itch, he, san, he, itch, touch, ku, and ju. Down, itch. Quick warm up today. Left side knee. Well, that was 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours ago. And down the middle. Let gravity look after it for you. Just relax your body and let gravity do the work. Then the right leg. Here too. Just let everything relax. Coordinate with your breathing. Right? Make your training age specific too. Don't push it too hard if you're too old. Don't push it too easy if you're young. Frank used to say in your 20s, Frank Everett, my instructor, used to say in the 20s, you whip the body. Okay? There. Switch sides. Hidari itch. Knee. San. Shiko. Left shoulder in, right shoulder in. Left shoulder long this time. Push it in, push the knees wide, stretch the spine. Right shoulder, same thing. Nice and deep. Nice and strong. Good. Shiko bumi. Good. Standing up, Migi Sanchin Dachi. Tip. Wash your gauge. 8. Sun to the left. Shake to the right. Look. Pitch down. Arch. And now there, arms forward. Knee, sun, hanta itch. Knee, sun. Nice and relaxed. Loosen the shoulders a little bit. Okay, let's pump out these 10 cards, eh? Only 10, not a whole deck. Should be doing, I'm sure most of you are doing the deck as well, like I am. This is just so we can get together and have a bit of a sweat. First card, 6 clubs, 6 squats. Itch, knee, sun, sheep, gulp, look, easy peasy. Spades, So 10 push-ups. I haven't got my pads with on the blocks. Hitch, knee, thumb, hip, hook, hook, hitch, punch, hook. You. Nice. Next one. 8 diamonds. Wouldn't it be funny? I'd be heartbroken if there were no hearts in it today. I'd be heartbroken if not. Okay. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, rook, hitch, hatch. Good one. Next card. 3 spades. Remember to get up from here into push-up position. You just rock forward, kick the legs back. 3 push-ups. Itch, meet, sun. Next one. 10 of clubs. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What did we get yesterday? I think the other day we got Queen of Hearts or something. 5 of spades. Well, they're all push-ups today. Easy ones too. Itch, knee. When it's easy like this, do the full movement. Okay? Increase the intensity by increasing the range of motion. There's fundamentally 3 ways you increase the intensity of anything. Increase the range of motion, increase the speed, and increase the volume. So if you're running, the volume is distance. Okay, last card. We got away with it. No hearts today. What I'll do is I'll just rotate these to the bottom and we'll go through the whole thing. Okay, 12 squats. Hitch, knee, thumb, look, hitch, punch, cube, hitch, knee. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so let's break down some basics. All right. I'm not going to do standing basics because the same principle applies to moving basics. But what I wanted to look at today was the concept of actually, take my wedding band off, the concept of actually breaking down a series of techniques into numbers. Okay, so let's think of, for example, let's go back to what we were doing on Monday. Okay, or if not Monday, Friday, if not Friday, Wednesday, I just forget. Okay, so let's look at Kyokushin. So we're here. What we're going to do is, so the first movement of Taikyoku number 1, instead of stepping out, what we're going to do is we step back. Okay, there. All right, now, analyze it, but break it down. Stance 60 or 70% on the front leg. The knee is over the foot, not overextending. The back leg is strong and straight. You have shoulder width in your stance. You've got narrow shoulders like me. Interesting. One of the instructors at Hombu used to describe it as the width of your walking gait. So in other words, it wasn't so much for him, the shoulder width, it was for him, the hip joint width. He used to describe it as having, you don't have a single axis in the body, you actually have 2. He said you had 1 axis on one leg, 1 axis on another, the best ever. Okay, so you take that leg straight back to there. Okay, and then puts it. Now, so we've taken it to the side this time because we're doing Kyokushin. I put my hand down, the back of my hand comes to here. Okay, a big circle round. Transfer my weight from here to here. Okay, Mawashiyuke. Once again, throw the punch, and then we'll stop there. We won't go into Mawashiyuke. We'll stop at Shuto Mawashiyuke. Okay, so I've come here, throw the punch. Okay, now this time the attack comes from here. I go under, big circle over, reverse punch. Withdraw, Shuto Mawashiyuke, forgive my stance, my right knee shot, and throw the punch. All right, now let's break that down into numbers. And this is where of the and how the basics comes in. Yes, that's it, Gao. They gave it to him for a gift. Good to see you, Harry. Thanks for coming in. Okay, so Salsa used to spend a lot of time going, just go easy, go slow, go slow, go slow, go slow. Don't get injured, don't get injured, don't get sick, go slow, go easy. Okay, this is Salsa. The slower you go, sometimes the better, because you want clarity of technique, and the clearer the process, the process, the better. So you break it down. Let's break it down. So when I step out now, I want to drop my weight down and my foot goes straight back. My hands work together. I don't do the block and the hands together like that, because if I do that, I don't have the correct connection between my lower body and my upper body. And also, there's another dangerous thing, which you get essentially in basics. Sometimes it's a little bit different. Essentially in basics, the feet lead the hand, not the other way around. For beginners, quite often, the hand leads the feet. For example, if I'm stepping forward, reawaken. Okay? A beginner will do this. And the arm will lead the body. But as we always say, as long as you pay taxes, you don't have to worry about what's going on over there. All you need to be careful of is this. Forget that. So your arm doesn't have to go all the way over here. But some people, they come all the way over here. Okay? Correct it. Bring it back in. So it's the same whenever you do any technique. Break it down. And the first count is always the feet. Okay? So I'm here. The first count, I step off. 1. Now the second count in this one, the block. 2. Okay? It's not 1. Okay? It's 1, 2. Now, we usually think of beginners for this, and then when we get to a certain point, we think, I'm past that now. The reality is, if you keep breaking your technique down like this, 1, 2, and what happens is you start to see connections in terms of that, what I call the neurological hierarchy. What comes first, what comes second? Because even to a count of 1, some things come before another. But if you do the count of 1 too early, everything comes at the same time and you lose it. Okay, so let's go again. We're going to step facing left, but step back with the right. 2 counts. 1, 2. I put strength in my good leg. I want to put strength where I can through the body. Nothing's relaxed. Okay, I'm going to withdraw into kokutsu. So the next count, 6, 7, 8. Throw the punch, 9, and back. Okay, then I'm going to step off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so we've just broken the technique that we would do in 2 counts. 1, 2. We've broken it into 8 counts, or probably 16 actually. So let's try that again. And I'm only sticking to this technique. I'll go back to something a little less intimidating. I'll go back to something in a sec. I know that this connection is a bit unstable here. Hopefully you're still getting the drift. Okay, so we'll do that a couple more times, and then we'll go back to a more fundamental moving basic combination. So 1 is we step out. 2. That alone, I'm sure it makes you think about what you're doing, because if you're used to doing it to 1 count, the timing may be something like that. Okay, and this goes for. I was at a seminar last year, and there were people up to 5th and 6th stands there, and fix basics because they have never done it correctly. Don't rush through basics. The grading system in the martial arts is its best friend and its worst enemy. Okay, because if you start to taste gradings, it's all over, Red Rover. Just forget about it. And I have a really nice story. If you have a look, Raj Kumar Shrestha from Nepal. He came and joined our organization. All right, and I love what happened. It's so clear in my memory. This day I was with Oishi Shihan at a seminar in Kolkata, and Raj turned up. Tough fighter, and of course we all know Nepalis are tough as nuts. And he turned up. He was a high rank from another style, from another group. But that group was well known for just giving out grades. I think what some groups do is they give out the grades in the hope that it'll attract more and more and more people, which gives them more. Raj's technique is fantastic, by the way. Don't get me wrong here. And I didn't ask him permission to talk about this, but I'm sure he won't. We were at the seminar, and it was our job on that. We're there for a week to assess his technique and see where he stood. And he had a fifth dan on. He walked over, and we were discussing it, going, there were so many good points about what he did, but there were a few things that needed work on. So just as we were talking about what we thought he should do, he walked over and he went, Us, whatever you choose for me to go to, I will be happy to go there. And we said, well, we're actually thinking third dan. So this guy's a fifth dan, man. And we're thinking if he wants to stay in our organization, we need him at third dan. And he just went, Us, okay, I'll be a third dan. And that was so cool, because other people, you say, well, his fourth dan grading. And we asked where he got his third dan. He said he bought it online. I kid you not. And he was there doing his fourth dan. His standard was about yellow belt, by the way. This wasn't at the same seminar. This was in Japan. He'd come. He wanted to do his fourth dan. He started the grading. There was nothing but whining, moaning, complaining, everything below the line. And we said, where did you get your third dan? And he said he bought it online. Okay, where did you get your second dan? Well, he received his second dan when he went from one organization to another. So in reality, he wasn't even showdown standard, but he was grading for a fourth dan. Well, this is the problem. People get fixated on gradings. Don't do that. It's your worst enemy as well as your best friend. It's your best friend because it gives you something to work towards. It's your worst enemy if you think that is the objective. It's not. Okay, so let's go. Let's do a few more of these. We're going to start here to the count. I blew it. I'm going to step back 1, block 2, hand down 3, large circle 4, transfer my weight from my left leg to my right as I pull in 5, 6, set up for kokutsu, shitomo shuken, 7, 8, and punch 9. See, I added a technique there. Now we go back the other way. 1, 2, large circle. Transfer weight from right to left. 3, 4, 5. Forgive me, my stance is weak. 6, 7, 8. Okay, we break that down into 16 or 17. You have to be clear, and this is a fantastic way to do it. Break your own techniques down. You can do it in Taikyoku, for example. Look at Taikyoku number 1. And I've got to be careful of my knee, I'm sorry. Okay. 1, 2. Each knee. Each knee, okay? Let's break that right down now. Let's break it down into at least 4. 1, 2, 3. Now this time I don't punch yet. I move, remember, every move, the first count is the feet first. 3, 4. Okay, so now we've broken it down into 2 counts per beat. Okay, some techniques require 3. Let's do that again. Okay, my weight's on my right leg. 2, 3, step, but freeze the arm. 4, 5. It should be under there. There you go, see? My habit is that I bring it here because I want to do it quicker. Bring it to there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay? You see, you break it down into 2s. You do that, I guarantee you do that once a week. That's all. Doesn't have to be every day. Once a week, and it'll blow your mind what a difference it'll make to your technique. We see breaking down to teach beginners, and that's exactly what it's for. If you want to help a beginner understand a technique, break it down. But it's like K350, you know, the kumite, 7 stages of kumite. We revisit that every year, every quarter, every grading, every time we get through the 350, over and over and over and over and over, because it's a form of basics. The K350, the first step of the K350 is default position and your gaze. Knees bent, back heel up, elbows in. Okay, you have to keep coming back to that, because if someone doesn't correct you, old bad habits will keep creeping in. Okay, so now let's look at something where we have to break it down into three counts. For example, let's go back in Zenkutsu. Okay, now from here, we're going to break down. Let's go Jodan Uke, Gyatsuki. Okay, so the technique is we're coming up here into there. There. Okay, so we're going to break that down into three counts. Okay, and I'm sorry, my stances are so wonky, I'm a little embarrassed. I have no knee. Okay, so the first count, we come through and we cover blocking the hole here. The first stage of Jodan Uke. So we come one, there. I'm looking straight around my hand. My hand is here to protect my head, but also this hand's come across to block. But notice I've already stepped into the stance. One is always feet first. Second count, we finish the block. Two. Okay, now if you feel like you have it mastered, and you walk into a dojo and they'll even tell the green belts and brown belts and black belts, go over there and do it because you've got it. No, you stick with the white belts. Remember the old saying, Shoshin or Wasurezen. Shoshin is the beginner's mind. Okay? Daisetsu Suzuki said that in the beginner's mind, there is infinite potential. In the mind of the master, there is none. So never think that you have it. Always treat yourself as a beginner and you'll always get improvement. Okay? So again, we're going to step through to the count of one. I'll step back so you can see. The first count is we step through and we set up the block. One. Okay, my elbows, I have to cross over to get that block. I'm in the stance. I drive up, two. Now I withdraw the hand, punch, three. In one count, you can get carried away. That's not what I want to do today. What I want to do today is show you the value of breaking things down as though you're a beginner. Okay, I'll step back again. Again, count one. Ich. Ni. San. Ich. Ni. San. I'll go backwards now so we've got more room, and you may only have a small space as well. Go backwards. Ich. Ni. San. Ich. Ni. San. Okay, now you can do it to two counts. So in other words, step through and then block. Feet first, then the block. Ich. Knee. Ich. Knee. Ich. Knee. The enemy of mastery of technique, rushing. Don't rush. Okay, so we're going backwards, or if you can have space to go forwards, knock yourself out. One. Two. Three. Ich. Eight. San. Break it up again. Back to three counts. Step first. One, two, three. Three counts. One, two, three. Three counts. One, two, three. Two counts. Stance, then block, and on the second count, the punch. One, two. Okay, so I'll come and I'll read my notes, but whilst I'm here, can you get the idea of what I'm saying? Never treat beginners training as just for beginners. The reality is it's for everyone. And one of the best things you can do if you're a black belt especially, people think that when you get a black belt, it's an indication that you're a master. It's like someone becoming a priest and thinking that or a monk or something, that is an indication of saintliness. the fact of the matter, I've known a lot of monks. In fact, I nearly went into the monkhood when I was 21. So I've got a lot of friends who went in, and the thing you find about them is that what they are doing is what everyone else is doing. They're on the same path. Okay, well, when you're a black belt, you are on the same path as the white belt. It's just that the white belt has the beginner's mind, so they're humble and they're open. Okay, and like, you know, as they say, the wisdom flows into the depths of the valley of humility. You know, you want to be very, very open to learning. All right, so all I can ask for is that you commit to going to your basics with a different approach. And if that means that when if you're a student in a class in the dojo, and if you're doing your basics at home, pick one basic technique and ask yourself about it. Okay, I'll just read Clarence's message there. Us Raj, yeah, fly by claim any grade, totally insignificant, very egotistical, materialistic, and not the true essence of Kyokushin. That's true. You know, it's completely irrelevant. And I've been to seminars. I remember I was at a seminar with Salso once. There were probably, and Kenny was there, by the way, Clarence, so he could tell you. I'm just trying to remember how many were. There must have been about 60 people. I was a third Dan, and I was the most junior in the class. The front row was all 8th Dans and 7th Dans. And this is in Salso's time. These days, even worse. They'd all be 8th Dans now. But we did one kata. We did seipai kata 66 times without stopping. And they're starting to get annoyed because, you know, they're 7th and 8th and 6th and 5th and 4th and 3rd Dans. And, you know, but the point that Salso is trying to make is you guys don't get it, you know. The rank is irrelevant. It's the quality of your training that tells you everything. Okay, so you've got to constantly question your basics. And how do you do that? Well, you break it down. Every technique can be broken down into 2 counts or 3 counts or 4 counts. The next thing you do is go slow. And like Harry said, that's a really nice idea for anyone over about 40, especially for over 60. Okay, you go down and break it down and be very, very specific about where everything should be. Remember? He used to say aite, he'd say aite. That's what Salso used to say. Know what you're hitting with, where you're hitting to, and how you're hitting. And that's really what that does is all of a sudden you will find that even as you do the most fundamental technique, it requires your entire body to be involved. So you can be in basics. Remember, yoi means ready. So you're not just standing there going, oh, please get on with it. It's like you're down, and you have to be prepared for the concept that while I'm in yoi, anyone can attack you and you need to be ready. It's like you're at attention, man. Your focus is zeroed in and you're ready, okay? And then they go, Sanshin Dachi Yoi. It's serious, you know? Tip. That movement there is so beautiful because that breaks it down for you, okay? We need to remember that I often see people when the punch comes out, it turns too early, okay? Arm stays upside down, slow dialogue training. Talk to myself. Hiki tear rips back, hand is still upside down, aiming straight at the solar plexus. Squeeze my fist right at the point of impact. My head is still. It doesn't move around. I don't move my head around. My head is still. I withdraw the elbow. Hiki te comes back from the elbow. The punch goes out. It's still upside down, upside down. Break it down. Straight out. Okay? Now, the problem is we get so used to doing volumes of stuff, and I've done it myself, you know. Sometimes we do 100 of each basic, so 3,000 techniques, and we do 1,000 burpees between it. So in the end of the night, we do 1,000 burpees. That's how crazy we were. So we were so focused on getting the volume out, but we had pretty good technique. There's no doubt about it. But on reflection now, I know too that for some people that quality of technique wasn't there and they're just going through the motions. Okay, so you've got to, quality is vital. Quantity is also vital. Don't fall into the trap Look at that, Graham. Quality over quantity. Well, there you go. Just as I was about to say, Graham trumped me. I feel as though I'm plagiarizing now. What's Damien? Good to see you, buddy. Quality over quantity. But here's the second part of that concept. Quality before quantity, but quantity is also important. Okay, there are styles and dojos and schools where they go, well, we're not going to fall for that trap. We're focused on quality, and they'll do 10 techniques. Okay, and that's probably 90% of the dojos in the world. I shouldn't say that, maybe 80%. I don't know what it is. I'm just guessing. But the point is, when the concept of quality over quantity is in people's minds, they then use that as an excuse not to do quantity. But the trick is quality over quantity, as Graham. Why we'll spend 6 months in the dojo focused on a single technique, a single principle, or a single kata, because we want the quality, but we want the volume as well. Okay. There you go. See, look, Raj. I was just talking about Raj and his humility. He started in 92. So that's like nearly 30 years. He was 6 times national champion and 25 gold medalists. So this is how good he is. He has every reason in the world to just go, well, I'm just going to stick to my 5th dan or whatever. But he had the beautiful humility. When Oishi Hanshi said, we need you to go back, he just went, whatever you say, I will do. And look, there are guys out there who, I've heard of guys who've never won a tournament, never been in a tournament, never really fought hard, and they get failed. One guy I heard about, he was failed he got failed going for his 2nd or 3rd dan. He was so annoyed, he broke away, started his own Kyokushin style and made himself a 5th dan at like 25 years. What are people thinking? Okay, but there you've got Raj, look, 92, so 30 years training, 6 times national champion. That's more than me, 25 gold medals. And he had the humility to go, whatever you think I should be, I'll do that. Us to you, Raj. That's really, 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 really valuable. Us, quantity doesn't agree with my body so much. Graham, got news for you. I think quantity is, what's the word? A diametrically opposed concept to age. The older you get, the less you should do, but the higher the quality should. But that's a good point, you see, Graham. Yes, balanced thinking. All you guys are just coming up with so many wonderful concepts. But that's a good point, Graham. Because if you haven't worked the quality as a young person when you were doing the quantity, when you get older, you'll be lost. I see people all the time that they're a little older, but they've let the quality of their technique go completely. Because as they get older, they could be in their 50s or 60s, of course they do less. If I was doing as much now as I was when I was fighting tournaments in my 20s, then all that tells you is how poorly I was training in my 20s. Okay, it's just physically impossible to maintain the 20s intensity into your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Okay, but what you can do, yes, Damien, perfect practice makes perfect. There it is. That's what you can do. The quality becomes, it's like a scale. Oh, here we go. I'll pull out my iPad thing and I'll draw on it again. If I can get it open. When I'm sweaty, it won't open for me. This is my, I have over here quality. I have over here quantity. And, well, let's make this quantity and quality. In your 20s, it's like this. Just smash the volume with less regard for quality. As you get older, the bell curve moves this way. So now you start to do less volume, but more quality. Okay? Well, somewhere in the middle is what you want to be aiming for. You want to do an age suitable volume with the highest quality you can come to. Okay? And but not your focus on getting things right. Like right now, I just don't have a knee, so there's certain things I can't do. Okay, and especially these rotten jigsaw mats. They're so good, they're so handy, but I swear they're the cause of half the knee and hip problems in the world today, if not more than half, because I can recall training on wooden floors for most of my life. Never had a problem. No one had a problem. Okay, it's only since the introduction of jigsaw mats and hard surfaces that people have problems. Okay, so let's go through this. I'm just going to have a quick look. Shoshin o wasurezu. I've written that down. Shoshin o wasurezu. Shoshin is the beginner's mind. Wasurezu means don't forget. So never forget what it felt like to be a beginner. And that's the enthusiasm you take with you, the training. Okay, question your basics every time. Never settle in to think, well, I got this. Later I go to Frank. Frank, I'm ready for the next kata. And he'd teach me another one. And then I think after about Taikyoku Sono-san, he goes, well, let's just go back to Taikyoku 1 first and make sure you got that correct. You know, break down. Remember, that's the key. That's the main thing I wanted to bring to you today was commit the basics and break it down. Treat yourself as a beginner. Pretend you're trying to explain the technique to yourself again. Pretend you're teaching yourself the technique as though you've never learned it before. And question what I call the neurological hierarchy. So where should everything be and when should they be there? Okay. In my new book that I've got coming up, which not the old one being rewritten, but the new training manual, I have a thing that I call the hierarchy of the neurological high time. Chrissy Dunn, good to see you. There you go. And I remember Chris Dunn fought in a tournament on jigsaw mats that were loose, and he absolutely smashed his ACL in 2015. And the sprung wooden floor that we had in the old dojo. And I'm quite sure, even though it's been 5 years, I still doubt whether Chris is ever going to, I don't know if it's 100%, but I doubt it. What sort of quantity would you suggest for people relatively fit in their 20s while keeping the quality high? Okay, well, like I said, it's like that graph. There will come a point where it crosses over, you know, but you've got to find the balance between the two. Don't stop doing quantity just because you want to focus on quality. You have to find the balance. So I would suggest that, you know, you work on techniques and then you keep going. Okay, and if you aim for 20, then 30, then 40, then 50. If you're doing 20 or 50 of each basic, at least for quality, focus on getting the first 10 exactly right. Okay, and that's a good way to approach it. There you go, Raj. He's running 32 dojos in Nepal right now. My aim is to make world-class fighters. And I can tell you, at this camp in India, then Raj was there. His fighters were so good, and Raj is very good. But what I was using Raj as an example for was, and I hope he didn't misunderstand me, was his humility to accept what Hanshi decided for him was wonderful. And he probably had as good a technique, if not the best technique of anyone there. But still he was willing to just do whatever he needed to do to make the quality right again. So good on you, Raj. I mean, look, he's doing so well. He's got 32 dojos. I guarantee he's the only one here with 32 dojos. I've got 2, you know. So good on you, Raj. That's fantastic. Okay. And another way that you can check your technique is video yourself. Mike Yates, who used to own a shop in Sydney called Martial Arts World, he once said that it's probably the best way, and this is why we're putting videos together, or online memberships, but video yourself. And I've told the story, one of our top level 4th dans was doing Shitomo Washiuke, and he'd go, whoa, really beautiful one side, and then funny, and whoa, boom. And it'd become his habit that he'd do it perfectly one side and wonky the other. So when we said it's a bit funky on the other side, he goes, no, it's not. So we videoed him, just said, boom, video, yeah, have a look at that. And he nearly fell over. So you can't tell because your neurological hierarchies are all developed what your body, where the habit needs to be changed. And that's why videos are so good. Okay. So if you get a chance, just set a tripod up, do something like this. Look, little tripod with your camera on top. I've just got the time there so I don't lose track of the time. Okay. And video yourself. And I guarantee you'll be amazed at what you can discover. Okay. I'm just going to go through these once again. Pay attention to every detail. And that's pretty well it. Okay. So the keys were question your basics. Ask yourself every time, is this technique correct? Are the body parts in the right place at the right time? Is my hierarchy correct? Am I moving the legs then the arms. Don't let the arm pull the body. Let the legs pull the arm, okay? The arm, there are times when the arm pulls the legs, I must admit, but it's usually a very, very high level and on specific techniques. But otherwise, I think that's really important that we focus on basics. If you get bored with basics, you simply need to go and ask yourself, well, what can I do to improve my basics? Because, and like I said, basics isn't just the 30 techniques that we do like this in basics. Basics is fundamental work that improves the foundation quality of anything that comes after it. Okay, I'll write a definition of basics there for you for later. Us Kyokushin Shuffle, that's Patty, guys. Have you? I don't know if I got your link there, Patty. I should have. I usually try to keep these things handy, but I'm not too sure I've got it handy today. But anyway, look for Patty. Just look up Kyokushin Shuffle. That's the Kyokushin Shuffle there. That's Patty Pinto on Melbourne. Patty, Raj, I really appreciate you coming. You're a real inspiration to your students, and I think you'd be a good lesson to the world in terms of what it really means to be a humble instructor. You're willing to go from fifth dan to third dan simply because your instructor, Oishi Hunchy, said it's probably best for you. Okay. Good on you, Harry. Okay, so look, today, I'm sure people dropped in and thought, oh, they're just doing basics, I'll move on. I love that. You know, you can go to some online classes and there's 3,000 people or 2,000 people, and what the instructor is teaching has, you know, they obviously find it valuable, but, and I usually try to watch things all the way through because you can't judge someone by 5 minutes of an hour video, okay? But I hope you get something out of this today. Basics are God. They are the foundation of everything you do. And us, good on you, Graham. It's always nice to have you. Rob from Tassie, thanks, man. The Tasmanian devil, Rob de Souza. Okay, basics. Go back to them, even if it's just to revisit and break down. Once a week is enough, or in class even if you get an opportunity. Us, Daniel, thanks. Us, Mike, always an honor to have you here. Did I put a link up to your book? I hope I did. If I didn't, forgive me. I don't know if I got it here. But anyway, keep an eye out for Mike's beautiful book, Shingi Tai. But guys, get back to basics. Break them down. Go slow. Foundation of everything you do. And what they do is they give you the fundamental foundation of everything that comes after. Okay, and remember, it all starts in the yoi stance. All right, and found it. Okay, I'm just going to put this up now. Don't run away because this is a link to Mike Clark's wonderful book. Okay, Paul Knib, good, danke schön, mein Freund. Thanks for coming all the way from Germany. So we've got India, Nepal, South Africa, Sweden, Germany. Those guys over there, man, Paul and Clarence in Africa. I don't know what time it is, but it's pretty early in the morning, I'm sure, in Europe anyway. Alan, good on you, buddy. And Alan and Luciano, I don't know if he's here today, my new Patreon family members. Please, we're going to Zoom meetings only for Patreon members only. So that'll be starting very soon. I'll put a notice up and I'll let you know when. And also Zoom, Patreon family members have some videos coming your way in the next week or so. Okay, I'm just stuck because I'm training every day now and I'm a bit tight on time with this translation I'm doing for Japan. Okay, good on you. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoy it. I just love getting together with like-minded people. Thanks to the Lawrence Cog Young Lions. The Lawrence Cog is just outside of Oslo, and this is their Young Lions dojo. That's the youth team training T-shirt, and that's Dave Cummins and the boy. Dave is Harry. Dave is down from your way. He's down Imran, hang in there for 3 more days, buddy. Oscar, thank you very much. All the way from Norway. Appreciate that. very, very kind of everybody to come. Don't forget, click like, click subscribe, click the little notifications, and share it. The most important thing you can do is, if you've got friends, if you've got a Facebook page, just link to my YouTube channel and share it with everyone. And that's all I really ask for. Thank you. Us.